On the eve of the Stanley Cup Final, on the eve of Game 7, as we are heading into what is probably going to be the biggest Game 7 in NHL history? Yeah, I think that's kind of the way to say it. This may be the biggest game in history. But as we head into said biggest game in NHL history, we are talking about trades because, man oh man, everybody cannot seem to stop talking about Mitch Marner from today. Now, we'll go over why the Marner conversation has gotten as big as it has on this day in particular. The reason is kind of stupid, I'm not gonna lie, but there is a realistic conversation to have either way when it comes to Marner and the updates surrounding him, the Maple Leafs, and possibly even the Utah Hockey Club. So let's go out there and talk about Frank Seravalli's radio hit on Sportsnet 590 earlier this morning. We had a bunch of tweets going out there and showing off what it was that he said. There was also a video clip posted by 590, the fan themselves, but this tweet from Leafs Latest goes out there and summarizes it. The Toronto Maple Leafs have no interest in extending Mitch Marner, and if a trade were to happen, it would likely be this week. I think the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to do everything within their power to try and make something happen. Now, the interesting thing about this entire Marner, Toronto trading situation is that when it comes to a lot of the other insiders that are not Seravalli, most of them seem to be saying that Marner would be an extension target for the Maple Leafs. I think Darren Dreger was on that party. I think he said that the Leafs have interest in extending the guy, and maybe that would be more of the plan. We also had other indications saying that maybe Marner would not want to go into the season with a contract extension. He may want to take some time, and that might be dangerous because he might go to UFA status, and he might leave for nothing. Johnny Gaudreau 2.0, etc., etc. But Seravalli is one of the only insiders that we're consistently seeing saying that the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to want to trade Marner and that they're trying to do this and that it's a thing that they're pursuing and he's going to have to waive his no-move clause for somewhere because they're going to force him to do it and all of the extra layers in between. There are people going out there and disputing this, oh, Seravalli is wrong, whatever. And then you could also say that the reason the reporting has been so different from person to person is because certain people may be in certain people's ears talking about what they want to happen, and we all recognize that some of these insiders are puppets, in a way, for some of the agents and team executives to get out some sort of an idea, so it pressures their situation more favorably. It's an entire cycle. We are familiar with this, we know what happens. But when it comes to Mitch Marner, he is, for the most part, a talented piece. He's still got 85 points in 69 games played this season. He is a multiple-time 90-point guy. He'll probably get 100 points soon. And as long as he's able to show off well in the postseason, he will start to vindicate himself in the eyes of the NHL public. He's a great regular season player, but when the going gets tough in the playoffs, that's when things sort of disappear. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to Marner, a lot of people were going out there and talking about the Utah Hockey Club today. And let's go out there and explain why this is, and why this really doesn't mean much, because this tweet went viral earlier today. It has 500,000 views at the time of recording this audio. It was from 2 hours ago. It's got 1,000 likes, 200 replies, and 400 retweets. It was made by a Twitter user named Rob Reinhardt, who is apparently covering all things sports for the New York Herald since 2024. Previously, Sports Illustrated Now and Bleacher Report. And look, I'm not going to disrespect anybody here. Not going to say anything. But this tweet did go out there and spark a huge conversation on Twitter. Breaking, hashtag, he says, Toronto Maple Leafs right-wing Mitch Marner is being traded to Utah per source. Although the final terms of the deal have not been disclosed, it's been confirmed that Marner's time in Toronto is over. An official announcement is expected sometime this week. And the first reply says, why would you be breaking the news? And Rob says, because it's my job to report on any news that I hear. Weird chirp. And the reply after says, is Ohtani playing for the Leafs this year too? Now, some folks on the Toronto Maple Leafs subreddit went out there and did the detective work trying to figure out what exactly this guy is up to and who he is, but there were some replies going out there and disputing the legitimacy of his claims. Here's a comment made by Sluck131. A quick scroll shows the last thing this guy posted was being wrong about the Lakers head coach. I'm going to say this basketball fan does not have sources with the Leafs or Utah. Now, of course, Rob Reinhardt might be the nicest guy in the world, but in the context of us hockey fans who are used to the Friedmans and the LeBruns, we have no idea who this dude is. So, somebody going out there and randomly sharing that Mitch Marner is getting traded to Utah of all teams, without it being discussed by a Friedman or, a Saravalli even, it gets people kind of up in arms, and a lot of the replies are angry, a lot of people are responding to this, some people are taking it seriously, like, oh wow, Marner to Utah, that's fantastic. But because this tweet went viral, everybody's talking about Marner in Utah today. People are memeing about this, people are joking around about this. There also was an article on The Athletic that was posted earlier this morning by Shayna Goldman, Mitch Marner trade destinations, 8 teams that could or should be interested. And this article from earlier today does go out there and talk about Utah, so very coincidental timing of everything coming together here. Saravalli saying that Marner is going to get traded earlier this morning, this random tweet from a random guy popping off about Marner getting traded to Utah, and then an article on The Athletic saying that Marner is potentially a Utah target. Let's go out there and see what was talked about here. The Athletic is paid for material, so we're not going to screenshot the post itself, but the excerpt about Utah and Marner was posted onto Twitter publicly, which is where we're going to screenshot it from. It's a little loophole just to get around it, because technically this Athletic excerpt was posted publicly by Jamie on Twitter. Some words regarding Mitch Marner to Utah from The Athletic this morning. Utah has a ton of cap space to spend, and unlike in years past, ownership is willing to invest in the on-ice product. That is a burn. Shayna Goldman, oh my goodness, those are fighting words right there, but I'm not going to say you're wrong about that. If the team wants to start shaking things up, Marner would be an ideal target, assuming he's willing to waive his no-movement clause and take a leap out west. With Marner in the fold, Clayton Keller and everyone on the depth chart behind him would move down a slot into a more appropriate role. Really? I disagree with that, honestly. I feel like Keller is a legitimate first-line guy, and that he would play very well alongside of a Mitch Marner, but I digress. Utah would get an infusion of star power and playmaking, which the roster could use around its up-and-coming talent. It all depends on what Utah is willing to part with, but a handful of players and assets could interest Toronto. There's Lawson Krause, who checks off the size box that management seems to be looking for, center Barrett Hayton, and other young players like Ginther. Maybe Karel Vejmelka could share the crease with Wall, or some of Utah's draft capital, including its next 3 first-rounders, and a stockload of seconds and thirds. They could round out a return too. Now, of course, this is not the entire thing. There's a lot more written about in the article. This is just what was posted on Twitter. But thinking about what Marner could go over to Utah for, will the Toronto Maple Leafs be okay with some sort of a return with a Krause or a Vejmelka or whatever else? Would Utah be okay giving up those kinds of assets? I'd say that if the Utah Hockey Club is trying to start getting competitive now that the owner and the people in charge are actually okay with making decisions to improve the hockey team on the ice, this could be an opportunity to shell out some younger assets that are not actually helping out the team right now. Unfortunately, the Toronto Maple Leafs don't seem to be in the business of getting futures for what is essentially one of the most overpaid superstars they've had in their history. So we'll see what happens, but of course this is just an idea being tossed out there on The Athletic. It's not really the biggest deal in the world here. Either way, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. How do you feel about the entire Toronto Maple Leafs, Mitch Marner trade, Utah? Is it happening? Is it not conversation? Will he just get extended on July 1st and nobody is going to bat an eye? Everything we had been talking about a trade is going to go down the drain. Or is Saravalli going to prevail here, as he's been the one saying consistently, hey, it's going to be a trade. They're going to force him out. They're going to trade him. They don't want him anymore. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Marner and the Utah Hockey Club. I'm really happy myself because I had an opportunity to finally make a thumbnail with Utah colors and the Utah background and the logo and everything, so hopefully this sticks around for a long time. Although it won't, because they're going to have a new logo soon. Next year. Who really knows? Thoughts in the comment section below about Marner and the Utah Hockey Club. I hope you enjoyed this video. 99. Enjoy the Stanley Cup Finals, everybody. We will be back here after the game to get everything said and broken down. I hope you enjoyed this video. 99. And bye.